Hi there, and welcome to this three-part video training, De-Stress Instantly. This is video 1. I'd like to welcome you to the Brain Lady community and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to learn about 3 techniques that you can use anytime to de-stress instantly. This is a 3-part video training. In the first video, we will talk about what is stress. We'll discuss the fight or flight response. We will talk about how to identify your stressors, look for options for de-stressing, and I will teach you a very effective skill to instantly calm your mind and body and lower your stress response. Video 2, we will talk about the warning signs of stress overload, and we will look at internal sources of stress, and I will teach you another skill for changing the channel on stress, worry, and negative thoughts so that you can feel better instantly. The third video will talk about some options for how to de-stress, and I will teach you a third skill for how to relax into the present moment. So to begin, I'd like to introduce myself so you know whether to believe me or not. I'm Deb Burdick, also known as the Brain Lady, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been in private practice for 25 years, and I'm an best-selling author on Amazon. I've written several books about mindfulness skills and also about ADHD. How I got into this was many years ago. I was actually a computer software engineer, and I was working for NASA, and actually some of my programs went on the spacecraft, and they would launch the spacecraft and we would run outside and watch them fly by, and I'd go, oh, my stuff is working, and thankfully evidently it was. But after about 16 years in the computer field, I got sick and I hurt all over my body. I was exhausted. The medical community didn't really know what was going on, and it started me on a healing journey. And I ended up going to the library, had this inner knowing that maybe meditation techniques might help me. So I went to the library and got an armload of books out of the library and started reading them, and I bought some cassette tapes, this was a long time ago, with some guided imagery and progressive relaxation meditations on them. And I discovered that in a very short time I could turn down my body tension, my pain, and my stress level just in 10 or 15 minutes. I decided to go back to school to get a master's degree in social work and became a licensed clinical social worker. And in my private practice and also in an intensive outpatient program, I was teaching my clients of all ages some of these skills that I was learning. I took some courses with some of the mindfulness gurus of the time and really incorporated this into my life and into my practice. I then started teaching mindfulness skills for PESI nationally, and then wrote 2 mindfulness skills workbooks, one for adults and one for children. So I'm a speaker and a trainer specifically about mindfulness skills, stress, and ADHD. And at the end of each of these videos, I will share my gift to you that will hopefully help you dive even deeper into these things than we are able to do in these short videos. So let's start. I want to talk about what stress is. Stress is something that places a demand on you and forces you to adjust somehow. And it can be described as strain felt by somebody. Could be an emotional strain, a mental strain, or a physical strain. Think about if you go to the gym and you are lifting weights and you lift a weight that you're able to lift. There's not a whole lot of strain there. But if you try to lift something that is way too heavy for you, it could actually tear your muscles. I mean, it can really damage you. And that is kind of how to think about stress in our lives. And our stress response is our body's reaction to anything that disturbs its equilibrium. So I want to talk a little bit about the stress response here. The stress response is a condition or a feeling that we experience when you perceive that the demands that are being placed on you exceed the personal and social resources that you can mobilize to deal with that stress. So people feel a little stress when they perceive that they have what they need. They have the time, they have the knowledge, the experience, the resources to manage the situation. But they feel stressed when they feel they really just can't can't handle the demands. They feel overwhelmed. They may feel a loss of control. And it can be an inability to accept uncertainty. Certainly in this day and age, there's a lot of uncertainty. We cannot predict with certainty what will happen in the next hour for the most part. So being able to, if we struggle with accepting that we can't accept that uncertainty, then we may feel stressed. So the effects and the reactions, the stress response, really depends on our perceptions and our ability to cope. If you think of any particular stressor, different people will respond differently to that. An example is Nelson Mandela. He spent 23 years in prison and came out of that strong and ready to lead his country. Other people in prison get sick and die because they just cannot handle that stress. Their stress response becomes deadly to them. So stress can be negative and positive. We all know about the negative, but in fact, positive things can be stressful as well. If we are getting married or any kind of life transition that is positive, maybe we get a new job, we have a baby, those things can be stressful, as well as all the negative things, which we'll talk about in a minute. Very often today in our society, we end up in this emergency mode. We activate this fight or flight response. The fight or flight response was designed to keep us safe and alive, particularly back in the cavemen days when a predator, or think of a mountain lion or a tiger chasing us, we were designed to have our amygdala release, start a process that releases a cascade of hormones, of stress hormones that make us really fast and really strong to keep us alive. But after we would run like mad or fight to the death of one or the other of us, if we survived that, our stress hormones went down very quickly. They reset to normal very quickly. But in our society, we often end up feeling as if we have a predator chasing us all the time. So we get into this chronic stress, and we do not have a situation where those hormones go down again. And so this can be deadly. The stress symptoms can affect our body, our thoughts, our feelings, and even our behavior. Think of eating when we're not really hungry, but we do it out of stress. So being able to recognize the common stress symptoms and how they show up for you in your body can give you a jump start on managing them. Ignoring the symptoms of stress can be deadly. It turns out that stress that's left unchecked can contribute to health problems such as high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, diabetes, and many, many other health problems. And it also, research shows us that more than 70% of visits to primary care physicians are due to stress-related illness. And that's a significant thing to keep in mind. Stress from outside of us are the external sources of our stress. There are also stresses from inside of us, which we'll talk more about in video 2. But the things that come from outside of us include situations, challenges, difficulties, and expectations we encounter on a daily basis, as well as things that are more monumental, a death of a loved one or something like that. But we encounter these stressful situations all the time. They show up in our physical environment. Perhaps we're in a situation where there is a lot of noise in our environment, or there's pollution, or there's crime. Maybe we live in a city where there's a high crime rate and we're afraid to go outside. I mean, there's a lot of things that can stress us about our physical situation. Maybe not enough room for ourselves or our things. Our relationships are another big source of stress. All kinds of relationships. We have relationships with our parents, with our children, with our siblings, with our co-workers, with our boss, friends. All kinds of relationships can be a source of stress. Our work is another huge source of stress for many people. Although we would love it to be rewarding and fulfilling and satisfying, sometimes it can be overwhelming. Our poor work conditions. Maybe we work in a situation where we have poor ergonomics. Maybe we don't have a physical position that is comfortable. Maybe we have to lean over, or when we sit at our desk, our shoulders get all tense, or maybe we have to stand up all day, those kinds of things. Maybe there's too much noise in our work environment. Maybe there's poor air circulation. Just having no air can make us feel really sort of tired and fatigued and yawning and not think straight. We may have a lack of privacy. Maybe we can never even have a chance to make a phone call when we need to. We may have excess demands placed on us, just too many, too much pressure, and not enough resources to meet those demands. Our home, although again we would like that to be our sanctuary and our safe haven, can be stressful. It can be a source of stress if it needs work and we don't have time or the resources to do the repairs, or maybe it's messy and we haven't had time to clean it, or maybe there's not enough room, maybe there's not enough bedrooms or enough places to put our things, or it's not organized well, or whatever. Even a beautiful, huge home can feel stressful to some people. And again, noise can be a big stressor in our environment. Often in neighborhoods, there's a lot, especially in the city, there's a lot of ambient noise with outside of our home. But maybe our neighbors are noisy. Maybe our kids like to play their music at full volume. There could be lots of sources of noise. Pollution is another source of stress and can cause health issues as well. And there's pollution in our environment. There's pollution that we may not even recognize in the air, in our water. Maybe we live next to a paint factory. Maybe we are near a landfill. Maybe there are things that we might not even know. Maybe the toxins that are put on our lawns, for example, can be sources of stress, certainly health stress. Trauma is another big source of stress for many people. Often kids have had some types of trauma as children, being physically abused, sexually abused, emotionally abused, any of those things, any kind of accident, any kind of thing that might have made them feel afraid that they were going to die or that someone else was going to die. Any of those kinds of things can set up a lifetime of feeling stressed, and without looking at that maybe with a skilled therapist, maybe some of these people never recognize that that's what's going on. Getting injured can be very stressful, not only from the pain, but the losses incurred of activities and being able to do the things that you are normally able to do. Foreign organisms such as bacteria, fungus, viruses, getting sick, being exposed to things in our environment. And toxins. Toxins show up in our foods and in our cleaning products, in our cosmetics, all kinds of things where we might not necessarily be aware that they are causing difficulty for us. There are also internal sources of stress, and we will talk more specifically about them in video 2. So here are some of the common sources of stress I see in practice, in my private practice. People often have a fear of failure. They worry that they won't be successful in whatever it is that they are working on, whether it be just success in their life, success as a parent, success in their job, success in their business, any of those things. They may have a feeling of not feeling good enough. That often comes from childhood, how they were parented, things that they experienced when they were kids and whatnot. My experience has been pretty much everybody's good enough, and it's just learning to embrace that is part of getting rid of that stress that you're not good enough. Not knowing enough. A lot of people feel that they don't know enough to do something that they want to do, and that is usually a false belief. That typically they do know enough, or if there's something in particular they need to know, they can easily learn that. Another huge stressor is too much to do, and the time pressure associated with that, with not enough time to do it. And that comes from our work, from our parenting, from our home life. All areas of our life can be filled with just too much going on, and oftentimes we need to look at maybe cutting out about 30% of that, finding ways to do that. Financial pressure is another huge stressor that many people are under on a constant basis, where they just simply don't have enough money to cover all of their basic needs or to cover their bills. And even wealthy people often feel financial pressure, where they feel that they need to manage their money and make sure that they're making the most use of it and making good investments and so forth. So the gamut of finances can cause financial pressure. Relationships cause stress, and that is something we talked about a little bit already, but we may need to look at our relationships and nurture the ones that feel nurturing to us, and maybe cut down exposure from some of the people that are more toxic in our lives. Parenting is another huge source of stress. Parenting should be one of the most joyful and rewarding roles that we ever take on, and it hopefully is, but it can be very stressful as we worry about being a good enough parent, being able to make sure that we know what our child needs from us at this moment, doing all the things. I mean, there's just so many things to do as a parent. Just the busyness and the activities and the tasks involved in it can all be very stressful. Other common sources of stress are health. There's a double-edged sword there. If you are stressed chronically, chances are pretty good, probably about 100%, that you will end up with some stress-related health issue. And when you are ill, that is also very stressful. Dealing with the health issue and the limitations that may put on your life and so forth can be very stressful. Work can be very stressful. We talked about it a little bit, but our boss might be a very difficult person to work for. Maybe we have colleagues that are difficult to be around. Maybe we have way too much to do. Maybe we need to ask for help at work. Maybe there's just not enough time to do all of the things that we are assigned. And we need to look at what we can change within the workplace, and then maybe look at the possibility that we actually need to get a new job. Life transitions can also be very stressful. Even if they're positive, they can create disequilibrium in our lives for some period of time until we sort of get grounded and get back to normal. But lots of different life transitions, such as graduating from college, getting married, getting divorced, having a child, moving, retiring, all kinds of things can be stressful. Decision making can be stressful. If you're trying to decide and you're trying to gather, make sure you have all of the information you need in order to make a decision, being afraid that you won't make the right decision, and what if you don't choose the right option and so forth, can be very stressful. And then we have the internal sources of stress, which we will talk a little bit more about in video 2, but often we have this little inner critic that sits on our shoulder and goes, yep, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, but watch out for that. And we need to learn to stuff a sock in his mouth and say, all is well, I'm fine, I'm working on it, things are going well. We also have false beliefs. We all have these false beliefs that come from our childhood, and being able to look at those and address them and see how they are causing us stress in our present day is very important. And also, many of us have core wounds that we have sustained at some point in our lives, and being able to address those is very important. So I would encourage you to identify your stressors, to sit down and set aside some time and just think about your stressors. Now, I guarantee that you know what things stress you. And one way to know is to just think about something and see how you feel inside your body. Does your heart speed up? Do you feel anxious? Does your stomach hurt? Do you get a headache? Do you feel body tension? Typically, the things that stress us will show up in our bodies. So sit down and make a list of 5 to 10 things that you know that stress you. And then look at the list and find at least 2 things on that list that you can do something about to change, because that's very important. And then repeat this process so you can lower the things that are outside of you, the external sources of stress that are stressing you, to one by one change those things, change them or eliminate them. Another really helpful thing to do is to create a plan for how you are going to change or eliminate a particular stressor. So create that plan, write down the name of the stressor, list the options to change or eliminate it, what can you do about it, and then list the actions that you need in order to make that change. So include the dates and the timeline for how you're going to implement that. Okay, now I'd like to give you a technique that you can use to de-stress instantly, anytime, any place where you are. It is a relaxation breath. And I know you've heard about breathing, but bear with me because this is a very specific technique that turns down your stress response. Why focus on breathing? You know, that's an age-old focus of meditation, but it's portable. We all breathe. We It's always available. We don't have to think about it. But the cool thing is that by actually regulating our breathing, we can indirectly control all of those autonomic functions, including our heart rate, our blood pressure, and our stress hormones. I had a woman in one of my workshops who happened to have a heart rate monitor with her, and we did 3 or 4 of these relaxation breaths, which I'm going to teach you in a moment. And she said that after that her heart rate had gone down 10 beats a minute just by doing these 3 or 4 relaxation breaths. So basically, this relaxation breath will deactivate the stress response. It consists of breathing in through your nose to the count of 4. Now, if your nose is stuffy, that's okay. Just breathe through your mouth. But breathe in through your nose to the count of 4, and then breathe out through your mouth to the count of 8. And when you are breathing in, you are activating your sympathetic nervous system, which is activating. It activates the fight or flight response. It makes your heart rate go up and your blood pressure increase and so forth. When you exhale, you activate the rest and digest system, which is calming. Your heart rate will slow down, your blood pressure will come down, your stress hormones will come down a little bit. So what the technique is to inhale to the count of 4 and then exhale to the count of 8. So you're exhaling twice as long as inhaling. So you're activating that parasympathetic rest and digest system twice as long as the flight or fight response. So let's do it together. I will count with you the first couple of times, then I want you to do it on your own. Everyone has their own rate that they like to breathe, but just breathe with me. When you breathe out, purse your lips and restrict the airflow like you're blowing a big huge bubble. Try to make the bubble as big as you can, as opposed to where it's popped already. So let's start. We'll inhale to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale to the count of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now when you inhale, inhale peace and harmony and relaxation, and as you exhale, just let go of anything that needs to go. Let's do it again. In 1, 2, 3, 4, and out. Now do it one more time with me, and you do it at your own rate. Inhale peace and relaxation, and as you exhale, just let go of anything that needs to go. Now another important thing is to see if you are getting a chest breath or a belly breath. A chest breath is really about anxious breathing, and a belly breath is really about calm, really releasing that stress response. So in order to tell if you are getting a belly breath or a chest breath, put one hand on your chest and one on your belly and just breathe normally, and just notice which hand is moving more. If the lower one is moving more, that's a belly breath. That's great. Then take a deliberate in-breath and make that bottom hand move out. Make sure you get a belly breath. As opposed to a chest breath. Okay, you see the difference. Now one cool way to tell if you got a belly breath or a chest breath is take an intentional chest breath and blow in your hand and notice the temperature of the air. Now do it as a belly breath. When you get a belly breath, the air will be warmer. So practice this simple relaxation breath. You can use it whenever you feel stressed out, tense, anxious, worried, depressed, rushed, distracted, overwhelmed. It'll help you bring yourself to the present moment, and it will calm down and turn down that stress response. So let's review what we talked about. We talked about what stress is, reviewed the impact of stress on health. I helped you identify sources of your external stress, and then I gave you the relaxation breath to instantly calm your mind and body and turn down that stress response. In video 2, again, we'll talk about the warning signs of stress overload, identify internal stressors, and I will give you an excellent technique you can use to quickly change the channel on stress and help you feel better right now. Video 3, we will talk some more about options for de-stressing, and I will give you another technique to relax into the present moment that works really, really well. Some resources that you might find helpful on my website, www.thebrainlady.com. I have resources for de-stressing and mindfulness skills for everyday living that help with stress, anxiety, depression, ADHD, sleep, relationship, pain, and healing. There are free resources, articles, symptom checklists, some videos, and there are some books, CDs, workshops, and teletrainings that you might find helpful. I would like to give a gift to you of 25% off on 2 of my teletrainings. One is the Transforming Stress teletraining. The other is Mindfulness, the Basics and Beyond. If you type in the coupon code 25, just that word, all the letters, 25 in one word, that will give you 25% off on those. So I'd like to take a moment to just introduce you to the Transforming Stress teletraining, and I'll introduce the other one on another of the videos. In the Transforming Stress teletraining, you will learn how to recognize and understand stress, when stress is helpful or harmful, what stresses you most, warning signs of stress overload, how stress shows up in your body, looking at internal versus external sources of stress, and how to change the stressor, then how to change your response to stress. And the meat of this teletraining is effective techniques and skills and activities that you can do to de-stress and to transform the stress in your life. We'll focus on relationship stress, on financial stress, on work stress, and health stress. So again, you can find these at thebrainlady.com/transforming stress and thebrainlady.com/mindfulness, and type in the coupon code 25 and you'll get a 25% discount on each of those. Thank you for your time and taking time from your busy schedule to listen to this. I hope you have found this helpful. Please let me know how this has helped you. If you have questions or if you need a speaker, you can contact me through www.thebrainlady.com. I'll see you on video 2.